Where do we even start, man? Where do we even begin with all this news? All right, let's start like this. My amplified unit, salute. Welcome to the Amped Up Podcast for Wednesday, August the 2nd, 2023. On your way in, smash that up. Helps the algo, and it helps BC know that my unit is fully amplified. I appreciate it. Smash that up. And once again, salute to every one of my unit members. From the red team go to my channel members that better have those gold cards activated. There you go. A formal introduction. Now on to today's podcast. Any one of these stories can easily be the headliner, the main event of the podcast. Every once in a while, you come across these days in the pro wrestling world where it's one big story after another major story after another massive story. And we're going to talk about all of them because today's one of those days, man. Two big talking points coming out of the Cody Rhodes documentary, which was phenomenal, by the way. Unfortunately, it's overshadowed by two massive talking points that has indeed the wrestling world talking. Cody Rhodes talking about the personal issue that took him out of AEW. It wasn't money and it wasn't talent. That only leaves one thing, obviously. The one person they did not mention in that documentary as well. So we have to discuss that. We're also going to talk about Paul Levesque McMahon, Schnoz McGee, taking another jab, another dig, another unnecessary shot over at AEW. Whether you think he's just stating facts, BC, that's fine. It's still unnecessary given the context and what it was for, what project he was speaking for. There was no reason to say what Paul Levesque said, but that's what he does. That's why he's got the nickname. Long before there was an amplified channel, he had the name Petty Paul. Oh, we're going to talk about it, man. Two big talking points coming out of that amazing Cody doc. We're also going to talk four names that have just re-signed with AEW, extending their stay with the company, and they're four really big names. Three out of those four, even more massive for the reasons we're going to go over. But a big day for Tony Khan and AEW re-signing these four talents. We are also going to discuss Collision's rating. Wow, did it see the uptick that it's been needing now for several weeks? However, that's the good news. The bad news is something big is happening this Saturday with the Rival promotion. We're going to talk about Collision, and we will talk about on the other side of the fence, VKM's WWE. Record revenue being reported as of hours ago in their last quarterly conference call. However, we also have to talk VKM because he is massively in the news. He is on a medical leave, but he's also being summoned by the federal court system once again. It never ends with Vinnie Mac. Massive stories we got to go over. We're going to do it right now. We're not even going to cut to the lightning bolts. We're not going to cut the opening teaser, cold open, apart from the actual podcast. We're going to go right into it right now, guys. I'm going to try to talk a little bit of NXT as well. I caught some of the show last night. Not the whole show, but I'll give you my thoughts on what I did see. And we will go over, obviously, the super thanks super chats. I know Clutch City Fan hooked BC up with a couple of coffees, man. Never needed, always appreciated. Clutch City Fan, I'll make sure I give you that proper shout out a little bit later in this podcast. So let's get right into it. I want to give a thank you, guys, for anybody who answered the question that I did put up in yesterday's podcast. Ricochet or Logan Paul? Who wins this match Saturday night? It's one of those matches you got to be very careful. Ricochet's already been the mayor of Jobberville. All of this spotlight was just to lose again to part-timing Logan. However, BC told you Logan Paul kind of has to win this thing. Look at his last several matches. Roman Reigns, L. Sethington, L. Money in the Bank, L. And with Sethington and Roman, the two things they got in common is he took them to the limit, almost beat them on several occasions. Does he now almost beat Roman and Sethington to lose to Ricochet at SummerSlam? You gotta watch how we handle that finish, right? So I have the results of what you guys told BC on yesterday's podcast, and I'm going to pose a new question for you because I have a new conundrum. All right? So let's do that right now. First and foremost, let me get a swig of coffee. Proper salute to my unit. We got the Dunkin' Iced Mocha. Salute to my amplified unit. I got the results from yesterday's question, and I'm going to pose a new question, and we got all these topics that we have to discuss. It's going to be a packed, stacked, jacked podcast today. Salute, unit. I guess while I was taking my swigs, we could have inserted the lightning bolts, but whatever. It is what it is. We're going to try not to edit too much on this podcast, man. There's a lot of business still to go afterwards as well. I'm going to try to catch some Dynamite tonight. We'll see. So what you guys told BC is that Logan Paul outweighed Ricochet in the voting. Logan Paul, you guys felt, needs to win this Saturday night. There was a bunch of Ricochets. A lot of BC. I feel it's got to be Ricochet. And you told me some justified reasons. And I hear you on that. But I also understand why everybody was saying Logan Paul when you look at what he did with Roman Reigns, when you look at what he did with Sethington Rollins, when you look at placing him inside of Money in the Bank. I don't know how you just now fall to losing to a guy who has been a residential jobber for years now. Now you want to say, okay, well, this is the springboard to make him not a jobber, BC. Well, I'm not so sure this is the way to do it by hurting Logan Paul's credibility. Man. So here's what BC says. And I'm going to pose I have a new conundrum from Saturday night as well. Another match that I need to ask you guys how you feel about it. But to put a little cherry on top of this conversation, BC would have Logan Paul win this match. And this is how I would do it. Ricochet, just like Roman Reigns and Sethington, takes Logan Paul to task. Takes him to the limit, or you could say vice versa. Logan Paul took them to the limit. But Ricochet, no slouch, takes Logan Paul all the way to the point where at the end of this match, and hopefully they give him enough time so they're both exhausted and the crowd is in awe of what they are viewing. And at the very end of this match, referee, something happens with the ref. I don't care if he gets poked in the eye by accident. But Logan Paul, after using every resource imaginable, thinking he truly could beat him fairly, decides, you know what? I don't need this shit. Low blow to Ricochet. And I don't care what the actual finishing move is, but it's set up by a low blow. And that's how Logan Paul ends up winning this match. I truly feel Ricochet would gain so much from this. Yes, he loses. I understand that. But he was about to beat Logan Paul. Logan Paul kind of knew it and just could not. The ego could not bring him to the point of being defeated by Ricochet. So he absolutely cheated. When he looked in that man's eyes and said, I can beat you fairly. No, he cheated. And he gave the low blow. And that's the only way Ricochet lost. And it would set up a more fun finish, too. At the end of this match, post-match, when Samantha Irvin, the fiancée of Ricochet, because she was already inserted into the storyline Monday, when Logan Paul said, no hard feelings, I hope it ain't going to hurt too much when she announces my name as the winner. Now, everybody's like, oh, shit, Samantha has to say his name now. But I think it would be hilarious if she just comes out and says the winner of this match via cheating or low blow, tell the world what exactly happened, and then deliver Logan Paul. Set a fuse at him. He's pissed off. I just think that would be a trip. You know what I mean? Let's add some fun to the finish other than just Logan wins 1, 2, 3 or Ricochet just beats him, because that doesn't do anything for Logan Paul. You know, yeah, he is part-time. He's only going to have 3 or 4 matches, tops every year. And that's even if you're including like a Rumble or a Money in the Bank and maybe 2 singles matches a year. They got to be special. You can't have them losing against everybody. A Roman, a Sethington, okay, that's one thing. Show up to Money in the Bank, show up to Royal Rumble like he did twice. Both of them, Rumble, lost. Money in the Bank, lost. Then you throw in the Romans and the Seth Rollins, and now you're throwing in Ricochet. I don't know, man. That's a lot of losing. I mean, what's next? Does he just lose to Drew Gulak? You got to start. You got to start thinking long term with Logan Paul. Like, he's got to start feeling more like he can beat anybody on any given day. We did the Rocky thing. He almost beat, like Rocky 1. He almost beat Apollo. He took him to the limit, right? We did that with Roman. We did that with Sethington. Let's start. It's going to take more than The Miz. A lot of you guys brought up a really good point. BC, he actually did win, because I said he didn't win at all. I had totally forgotten about The Miz. It was like WrestleMania, or he was in a tag team with The Miz. Then he beat The Miz, I believe. Maybe that was even at SummerSlam last year. I don't know, man. The point is, he does have a couple of W's. It's got to be way more special than that. It can't just be win against The Miz under your belt, or a tag team win with The Miz. So I feel, man, I kind of agree with the majority of the unit. I feel like Logan kind of has to etch out this W, but we can do it in a fun way where Ricochet saves face. It's a low blow, and Samantha Irvin makes sure the world knows that. So, interesting. It's going to be, I hope to be live with you guys, man. My channel members, I hope to do a live channel member chat live stream. So everybody can view and listen to BC on that stream, hopefully Saturday night. But channel members, my gold team, my gold unit, you guys will be able to, I'll be able to see you guys up in the chat, hopefully. So that's the initial plan. Hopefully I can make that come to fruition. Now, I had another question for you guys, man. If you don't mind, down below, if you got a moment, if your moment was already used up by smashing the up, then I appreciate that even more. But if you do have another moment, Ronda Rousey or Shayna Baszler, drop it down below, please. Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, because that's another match where when I was going over this card, I said that's another conundrum. If Ronda Rousey is leaving again for a hiatus, you got to give this to Shayna. And I know I'd be the spokesperson to say Ronda cannot be losing these type of matches, especially a match called an MMA rules match. No way Ronda can lose that. But if you're going away for a while, which is an initial report, and we even heard that she was thinking about leaving WWE for good, she would always be back. They always come back. But to take a role with UFC. And then we even heard that she was thinking broadcasting, something like that, or commentary for UFC. Some people think, no, it's to straight out. She was training for a while now. She's going to make a comeback to the UFC. So there's all these circulating reports. If she's going on hiatus, if she's going back to the UFC, whatever the reason is, you have to then give that match to Shayna Baszler, because she's staying around. And she's been lost in the shuffle and made to look like a clown show joke from nearly day one. Fruit roll-up queen is what we called her, what was it, a year or two ago? Every single match Shayna was in, it lasted not even 2 minutes, and she was getting pinned via the fruit roll-up. You can't make an actual fighter look any more stupid than WWE made Shayna look. This is her moment. If Ronda's sticking around and they're just going to totally try to remake her from ground up, a total recreation of Ronda Rousey, and it starts at SummerSlam, well, then you better make her literally the baddest woman on the planet again. Good luck doing that. And at the sacrifice of Shayna Baszler, doesn't sit too well. So it's a tricky conundrum here on which way you go. And even if Ronda's taken off and Shayna beats her in an MMA rules match, wow, they better get this right. So that's another, as I was looking over this card, there's a lot of matches that you got to be careful on the finish. But Logan Paul Ricochet's one of them, and Ronda Rousey Shayna. I'm like, damn. Like, how do you finish that match? BC's got some concepts. Maybe in the upcoming days before SummerSlam, I'll tell you how I would finish that match. But I'm interested to see how you guys feel, man. Do you have Ronda win this match, or do you have Shayna? All right, let me get a big swig. We got to get into these big stories, man. That's just a little bit of fun to start the podcast. Now, I mean, hopefully we continue to have fun, but these are some big stories. And some of these are serious stories, too. we're going to go over the Vince McMahon. I mean, wait till you hear what's going on with Vince McMahon. And then WWE is once again recording record revenue. BC will tell you exactly why. All right, I'll tell you what we'll do. And then we got to go into the AEW extensions, the re-signing, 4 big individuals. Man, there's a lot. So we'll start with the Cody doc. The Cody documentary, man, which I was able to see. It felt like it was 3 hours. It was probably 2 hours and under. It felt like it was a while. They started like 2 years. They started before Cody even got to Mania last year, like before, with Sethington. They started before that, and they went over nearly everything. His whole roller coaster through the Indies after he left, pissed off about Stardust, not happy with his trajectory, and even going to Paul Levesque McMahon and saying, I want to punch that writer in the face. And Paul Levesque is like, just go and make some waves. So he does that, goes back to Paul Levesque McMahon, and him and Vince, I guess, were not too receptive to his attitude. So he said, basically, fuck off. Went on the Indies. They covered that in this doc. They even covered All Elite Wrestling, mentioning it by name and showing Matt and Nick Jackson. Even a couple of photos and shots with Kenny Omega. There was no mention at all of Tony Khan, TK, the boss of AEW. No mention. Or at least not that I recall. Nothing that was big. I mean, they kept showing the Young Bucks. They talked All Elite Wrestling a few times. Never mentioning Tony Khan. And what was interesting is when Cody Rhodes was asked why he left AEW, he says, what I do want to say, and I don't want this edited in any way. I don't even want this edited, he said. He said it was not because of money, and it was not, he made it a point to say it was not because of talent. He said not one word about TK, and that was always the circulating reports. He had a huge falling out with Tony Khan. Now, we know they've exchanged pleasantries in, posts in interviews. But the word from the jump was not about money. The money was always, circulating false reports. They were literally called out immediately when it was reported. And the talent, there was never really a reputable report that said talent was upset with Cody or vice versa. Tony Khan, everything we heard was always from reputable sources and can never really be broke. So he said he left AEW for a personal reason. It was not money and it was not talent. But he left for a personal reason. He's just going to leave it at that. You got to believe that's the one common denominating factor, Tony Khan. So if you could be a fly on the wall for that last conversation between Cody and Tony, when Cody was like, give me a reason to stay here, tell me why I should remain here in this role, and Tony Khan just like, I can't tell you. Peace. I don't know what happened between those two, but for an executive vice president to leave because he's got a dream of winning a title his dad never won, no, there's more to the story, man. Over time, Cody became less happy there with weird stipulations like I can never go for the world title again. You guys remember that? And just taking on a lesser presence of a role backstage when he was the EVP that everybody would go to when this company started, above the Young Bucks, above Kenny Omega. It was Cody Rhodes. And there was a time frame where even the talent noticed that Cody Rhodes was kind of leaning back a lot. And that's kind of when the word started going around that there was friction between Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes. And here he is in this doc saying it wasn't money, it wasn't talent. And he just left it at that. But it was a personal reason. Well, obviously, it narrows it down to Tony Khan. And what could have happened in that last conversation between Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes? If you're Tony Khan and you're watching Cody Rhodes literally walk out of your company, to this day, I said, same thing I said on day one, you can't let that happen. He's one of the co-founders of the company. Optics alone, you can't let that happen. So Cody must have been pretty damn upset or just not happy there for him to leave an EVP position in a company he co-founded. because he had to go win a title elsewhere that he was never guaranteed, by the way. Even when Vince McMahon and Christopher Pritchard went down to Georgia, took their jet to Georgia, Vince McMahon's WWE jet, they went down to Georgia, they ironed out details of his return. He said many times it was never ironed out that he was going to go to Mania, win a championship, or ever win a championship. So that wasn't even a part. I could see if that was the guarantee. Listen, we're going to do this big thing with you. You're going to be the face. You're going to be the guy. And you're going to get the title. Cody said many times that was not the case. They never even went that far. They had a good presentation when he came back. There was going to be a push. There was never mention of him going to win a title or main eventing WrestleMania. That was not in their discussions. So, yeah, you're not going to leave an EVP position, a company you founded so early on in its existence, for a wrestling dream. Right? Because at that point, it's not real life. It's not like Vince said, this is what's going to happen. And even then, you take it with a grain of salt. No, this was just like, I'm going to see if they'll insert me into a championship victory storyline in WWE. Bye, everybody. Bye. I'm so glad I created this. No, there was bigger friction. And for him to look right at that camera and say, no, it was a personal reason. I'm just going to leave it at that and not say that it was not. He didn't have to mention Tony Khan by name. Just say it was not the AEW boss or personnel. He didn't say that. The other big talking point, whoa, this one even overshadowed that. Paul Levesque McMahon taking another shot, another jab, another dinger and zinger over to AEW, man. Paul Levesque saying that Cody knew he had to come back to WWE to reach his dream of holding that title up. Cody knew he needed to leave that secondary promotion and come back to WWE and win the real title. Or the world title, something like that. Slight paraphrase. But the quote is literally, Cody knew he had to leave that secondary promotion. You knew that was going to make the rounds. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are like, BC, I mean, tell them the truth. It's a secondary promotion, man. I mean, why is everybody upset? He's just dropping facts. It doesn't matter. This is a Cody Rhodes documentary. The project is for Cody Rhodes. There is no reason to take an unnecessary shot at AEW or Tony Khan. There's no reason, and we know Petty Paul, that's a name that was given to Paul Levesque way before this channel existed. Petty Paul is what they used to call him, a lot of the talent. Petty Paul. First chance he gets, he'll take out the golden shovel and he'll make sure you don't get anywhere. Ask a Booker T, ask a Sting, ask a Cody Rhodes, ask an LA Knight, ask so many. It's Petty Paul. And he's taken so many shots. Before AEW was really off the ground, calling it a pissant t-shirt company. You guys remember that? Saying that developmental was beaten by AEW. Congratulations, did you do something? Diminished anything. He diminished anything that AEW accomplished as opposition to him. He diminishes it and he throws a jab subsequently. So here it is. He's talking about Cody Rhodes. And he says he knew he had to get out of that secondary promotion. That's an unnecessary word, man. Why would you not just say he knew he had to get out of that other promotion? He knew he had to leave where he was. The other promotion. There's a billion ways you could have said this. Secondary, do you guys know the definition of secondary? I popped it up for you. This is by definition. Secondary. Coming after. Less important than. I'll say it again. Secondary means coming after. Less important than. Why would you have to say that, man? That's a little unnecessary. He's just stating facts, BC. Listen, I'm not flying an AEW flag. They don't need my support, and they don't need me to come to their defense. Trust me. But to say that that's not an unnecessary jab, or at least when you think it's unnecessary or not, to say that's not a jab, you'd be lying to yourself. That was Petty Paul taking the jab at the precise moment in time that he knew it would fit. Cody knew he had to, he lowers his voice. Cody knew he had to leave that secondary promotion and come back and win the real world title. Fucking Petty Paul. So of course that made the rounds, man. Of course it did. That's not going to sneak through. He knew he had to leave that secondary promotion. That less than promotion. Come on. You didn't have to do that, man. Keep the focus on Cody. Keep the little childish zingers. Keep them off of this project. He still holds the grudge because AEW whooped their ass on Wednesday nights, booted them to Tuesdays, and put Paul Levesque McMahon into a hospital, man, with his heart issue. Now the poor guy's wearing glasses and bifocals. He holds the media scrums after these pay-per-views. He forgets what matches he were on. He's got his cheat sheet paper. Oh, by the way, media scrums after pay-per-views. You can thank Tony Khan for that. Yeah. So you can bash them all you want, but you get a lot of your ideas from them. All of those pay-per-view themed NXT events when Paul Levesque was still head of the ship over there. Yeah, that came from AEW's Tony Khan doing that first. But he's got to make it known that AEW is insignificant to WWE. Now Tony Khan's responded. Tony Khan has responded, actually, guys. I hope I can get this. Okay, so this is Tony Khan's response. This was right before we went live recording this. Tony Khan says, and I quote, "We certainly won't be the secondary promotion at all." He was not happy, and I don't blame him. Tony Khan, AEW boss, responds to Triple H, Paul Levesque McMahon. "We certainly won't be the secondary promotion at all in. We're number one in the UK and on TV there with a record gate. I have a lot of respect for Cody. I know these weren't his words, to be fair, but we're not secondary in a lot of markets. For the first time in a long time, WWE has been secondary in a lot of markets. I'm proud of where we're at, and we're not taking a backseat to anybody." So that's where he kind of gets defiant, right? He starts off, listen, see, him and Cody are trying to stay respectful publicly, I've noticed. And Cody will not say what the reason was to get him out of there. But it must have been some diabolical, intense conversation with Tony Khan before he left. But they're trying to stay respectful. So he says, "I know that was not Cody Rhodes." Yeah, he knows who it is. And he says, "I'm proud of where we're at, and we're not taking a backseat to anybody. And for the first time in a long time, WWE is secondary in a lot of markets." That's a quote. And he says, "We certainly won't be the secondary promotion at all in." Saying that's going to be the massive night. A night to even par with WrestleMania. That's going too far. So I don't know exactly what he means by that. We won't be second on that night. No, you'll be the talk of the town for sure. Most likely the whole weekend. But, so Tony Khan has responded. And I knew it wasn't going to be long. He does not like when Paul Levesque McMahon sends those zingers unnecessarily. He usually responds very quick. Proud of where we're at. We're not taking a backseat to anybody. That's the defiance in Tony Khan. Fire it up. Hopefully that AEW just uses that as fuel, man. Paul Levesque is not going to stop sending those little zingers. It's what he does. He's Petty Paul. That's just what he does, man. Petty Paul. He's upset that he got his ass whooped by Tony Khan. And Tony Khan is saying, we're not done whooping your ass. We're not done. No. We just getting started. All In is going to be the spark that sets it all off. I like it, man. I like it. Man, the downside in all this is that it was not... When I say the word unnecessary, I literally mean unnecessary. Like, this was about Cody Rhodes. You knew by calling that a secondary promotion... You knew damn well that was going to steal the headlines. And Paul Levesque McMahon doesn't care. He doesn't care about Cody Rhodes. After he made that decision at WrestleMania to make this dude look like a chump with a rubber chicken, he was the first person backstage to give him a Papa H huddle talk. They showed it on the documentary. And Levesque does his interview, and he's like, I just felt I needed to be there to let him know that everything is going to be okay. And you main evented WrestleMania. How cool is that? No, come on. He doesn't need a consolation prize speech. You made it to the dance. You just couldn't dance. Right? That's literally like saying you went to prom, but before prom, your date broke up with you or said she doesn't want to show up with you. So you showed up by yourself, you never even danced, and people pointed and laughed at you. Well then, did you really go to the dance? Is it anything memorable? Is it anything you're going to want to remember? You made it to a main event of WrestleMania. You were laying down next to a rubber chicken, defeated. Everything you said you were going to do, nullified. Because Paul Levesque called an audible. And then Roman goes on vacation, has tag matches, and now he's in a family implosion storyline where the red tribal lay is more important than the title. They're just trying to find out who's the tribal chief. The title is a cherry on top. Meanwhile, Cody's in a summer-long feud with Brock Lesnar. That the only reason would be Brock was going for the title. But oops, we called the audible. And then that night after WrestleMania, that night at the media scrum, thanks to Tony Khan, there's Paul Levesque McMahon. Sometimes we make decisions and sometimes this is a quote, sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong, but you just got to go with it. Sometimes we make the wrong decision. You think, Paul Levesque? Like Asuka not winning at WrestleMania, but winning a month later on a Saturday afternoon with way less eyeballs? Yeah, maybe a little bad mistake. Austin Theory cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase on a mid-card title during a Monday Night Raw during an open challenge. It's an open challenge. He doesn't even have to present the briefcase and cash in. And it's a mid-card title. And it's the middle of Raw. And he still fails to cash in. He failed. Austin Theory. Way to reset him and repackage him. Yeah. And how's that going today? They're still piping in his booze, and he's not even at SummerSlam. Yeah. The Cody Rhodes situation. Oh, brilliant. Oh, LA Knight. Yeah, he's white lightning hot in February. It's now August. And this dude is still off of every pay-per-view. And almost every show. Oh, he's going to be in a Slim Jim Battle Royal, Beasley. Oh, we're going to give him a big push after SummerSlam. We heard that after WrestleMania. Then we heard that after Night of Champions and a Backlash. Money in the Bank. Now it's SummerSlam. Oh, are we finally going to give him a push going into the holidays with much less eyeballs, football season, sports, all that? Oh, now we're going to give him a push. It's going to be way less eyeballs. Ratings are going to be down. And they're going to go, see, LA Knight wasn't the guy. Why not just put the rocket on him back in February or March? When everybody at WrestleMania weekend was chanting LA Knight and you left them off WrestleMania, and now the world wants to see LA Knight in a big role at SummerSlam months later after Mania, and we're still going to play dumb. Meh, I don't have anything for him. We put the briefcase on Damien. He doesn't get a reaction, but we're hoping the briefcase gives him a reaction. And then over here, we're going to keep the U.S. title off of SummerSlam, so we can't put him in there. We have an MMA rules match here, so we can't fit him in there. You know what? After SummerSlam. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what we'll do. And then he won't get anything after SummerSlam either. So then we'll say, well, after Survivor Series. Or they'll give him a push, and his push will be feuding with Hit Row for the next 4 months. Paul Levesque McMahon. Triple schnoz. That's his booking. That's what he does. That's his thought process. People say it's going to be better after Vince. Just give it all to Paul Levesque, all the power. Guys, you get the longer matches maybe. You'll get a lot of those stupid decisions like the name changes, things like that. No question. No question. Paul Levesque, McMahon, be much better with him. A lot of the other stuff, you're going to have a whole new set of issues with Paul Levesque, McMahon, because that golden shovel is shined up every single morning he wakes up. And whether it's a Jeffrey Hardy or a Phil CM Punk Brooks, and so many before the roster today that he doesn't like, you ain't going to get the time of day. He has gone out of his way to sabotage John Morrison, CM Punk, Jeff Hardy, Booker T, Sting, and so many others. He has gone out of his way. Cody Rhodes, just the latest. That WrestleMania stunt, bring him to the dance and have his date not show up. He doesn't win the title. Brought him to the dance this close and took it away because Paul knew he got beat at WrestleMania by Roman Reigns. There was no way that he was going to have Cody, the guy who put the sledgehammer into the throne in AEW. There's no way he's going to beat Roman when he couldn't beat Roman at WrestleMania. Petty Paul. You're going to have a whole new set of issues. A lot of the people that should be getting over, if you think that Paul Levesque McMahon is less petty than Vincent Kennedy, or as in vindictive, you haven't followed along with Paul Levesque McMahon close enough. Because he's going to be, I assure you. Two big talking points from that Cody doc. And Paul Levesque McMahon calling AEW a secondary promotion. Tony Khan responding. Now, speaking of VKM, two big things with this dude. Number one, he's on medical leave. He had a big spinal surgery just a few weeks ago. And he's on medical leave. Apparently, he's been on for a few weeks, medical leave. But he is still in that lead role for WWE. He is still in the same position, leading it under Endeavor's leadership, obviously, 51% ownership now. But Vince McMahon does have control over WWE's full oversight, even though he is on this medical leave. While he is laid up, he is being issued a summons. Let me get the actual quote here. And WWE revealed this, by the way, in their conference call for their latest quarterly earlier this morning. So WWE issued this. They revealed that Vince McMahon was served a search warrant and federal grand jury subpoena on July 17th. WWE formed a special committee to review allegations of misconduct against VKM. But that review concluded in November of 2022. After an extensive investigation, it was closed. And Vince McMahon denied all wrongdoing. However, WWE responded, "We believe this is a continuation of the investigation that commenced last summer. WWE has fully cooperated thoroughly and throughout, and fully understands and respects the government's need for a complete process." So this is something they did say before. Even though they had their internal investigation, they found nothing, case closed. They did say that other subpoenas and court documents could be coming their way. And they would just they would take it as it comes. But because there was no wrongdoing on their side, they feel pretty sturdy in that legal position. They're not worried at all. Ari and Endeavor have been notified this was July 17th that this latest subpoena was sent over to WWE's Vince McMahon. Ari and Endeavor have known from second one, and they have kept Vince McMahon in that role. So they must feel pretty good about their legal stance. But several big stories about Vince McMahon once again, man. He's laid up a huge spinal surgery, and on top of that, these new subpoenas and court documents being sent his way and WWE's way. We think that it is to do with the investigation that was supposedly closed internally last year. So, Vince McMahon continues to make those headlines. A lot of jokes in the community. He should just show up, wheelchair, with the neck brace from the steroid trial years and years ago. He showed up to his trial and he had the neck brace on. Well, now you can use the spinal surgery. A lot of people think that's why he did it timing-wise, because he knew this was coming. So he could show up to court and he's like fucking, he's got no legs, Well, how can you send him to jail? The poor guy. He's in a wheelchair. His neck looks like it's broke. He's saying his spine is twisted. A week later, Vince, he gets off and he's doing his power walk to the ring. Oh man, Vincent Kennedy McMahon and Petty Paul Levesque McMahon. Between the two of them, Phil Brooks, when he said, "I'd like to think this place will be better." We'll be a little more polite without the old bastard, but it's just going to be taken over by his doofus son-in-law and his idiotic daughter. I'll never forget those words because it's Tweedledee and Tweedledum with Vince McMahon and Paul Levesque McMahon. I tell you, man. So that's some big stories, and another big story: the Bucks, Omega, and Hangman Page. They have all made their decision on their future. The Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Hangman Adam Page are going to WWE. They have made their statement. They're leaving. I'm kidding. Jokes, man. I'm joking. They're staying in AEW, guys. They have signed, re-signed, extended their stay with AEW. This is a monumental day for AEW, guys. Tony Khan can sleep much easier tonight knowing that, first of all, celebrating 200 Dynamites. Bam! 200 Dynamites. And on top of that, knowing that you have secured your top talent. Whether they wrestle often or not, whether they're as big as they once were in Japan, highly debatable, I understand. They're massive. 3 out of those 4 names especially, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, they are still EVPs. And by the way, this new contract, it extends their EVP-manship as well. They will remain as EVPs. Hangman Page's new contract does not have him as an EVP, guys. So he is not taking over the role that Cody once had. But the Bucks and Omega, that's why that's huge. To lock them down and knowing that you still have 3 of the other 4 founding members of AEW, you just lost Cody. And you have these ones secured for their next go-around. That's massive for Tony Khan. If he lost Kenny Omega to WWE or the Young Bucks, the optics alone, like what is going on in their shop? The optics alone that you cannot keep your EVPs, that your executive vice presidents, that your co-founders of the company feel the need to go elsewhere. 3 out of the 4 of these extensions will remain EVPs. Kenny Omega, Young Bucks. That is huge. It's... I could totally see why WWE fans would have loved to have seen Kenny Omega, even though this late in the game. Kind of like AJ Styles, but Styles was still at least had a few more years left. I truly believe Kenny Omega's got about 2 good years left, guys. Wrestling. Plenty more time, life-wise. But 2 good years of wrestling. I truly believe that. He's already winding it down. He's already talked about all the injuries that have stacked up. And how, he knows that time in the sunset, it might have to, it's fading. 2 good years. And I wouldn't be shocked if after a year from now, he's calling it and just going into that EVP suit and tie role. Kenny Omega in that suit and tie backstage with Tony Khan. I say 2 more good years. So AJ Styles at least came to WWE when he still had a lot of years left. But a lot of people say that the prime, the nucleus of the prime of AJ Styles was outside of WWE. Could you imagine if he showed up 5-7 years previous? Even AJ Styles talks about that a lot. With Kenny Omega, it would have just been a couple of years with WWE tops. But at least it would have been. You could see Kenny Omega versus Roman Reigns, Kenny Omega versus Sethington Rollins, Kenny Omega, Kevin Owens in WWE. I know he's had some of these matches elsewhere, but this Sami Zayn and Kenny Omega, you could set up all these cool matches that would also have really good storylines. And now with this new contract, what it does is, that's it. Kenny Omega will never be in WWE. Now, for AEW fans, you're ecstatic about that. Good. They wouldn't know how to use him anyway. Yada, yada. You're probably right. I also think they're so good that they would get over anyway. Like AJ Styles. It wouldn't matter if Vince didn't know how to use him. AJ Styles was going to be AJ Styles, world renowned in WWE. Because he's just that fucking good. You can't deny AJ Styles' ability and just the presence that he carries. Kenny Omega's kind of that way. But it won't come to fruition now. As for the Young Bucks, that's probably for the best because there's no tag team division. There hasn't been for years. And sadly, even if they offered the Young Bucks the world and that they would be tag team champions and they would build a division around them, none of that would come to fruition. Until I start to see it in WWE, I won't even believe that they care about the tag team division. Women and males. So for the Bucks, it's probably for the best, sadly. It would have been cool to see them and how they would do in the WWE atmosphere. But for Kenny Omega, I'd be lying if I said some matches in WWE, him in a WWE setting, at least for a year or two, if that didn't intrigue me. I'd be lying because it does. But all the best to the Bucks. Kenny Omega. Sports Illustrated broke that, even before Tony Khan had a chance to on a post. Sports Illustrated says the Elite have been Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Matt, Nick Jackson, and Hangman Adam Page each signed multi-year deals, ensuring that AEW will remain elite. Tony Khan then did give a quote over to Sports Illustrated. The Elite have been so important to the launch of AEW, with the Young Bucks going all in when I first approached them in 2018 about my dream to create an international pro wrestling promotion. He says, shortly after that, their partners and closest friends, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, joined us to formally launch All Elite Wrestling. All four of them have been instrumental to AEW's success from the very first episode of Dynamite in 2019 through the present day. Wow, he did not mention Cody Rhodes. Now, I know he didn't re-sign with them, so they're trying to keep the focus on that, but you would still mention him, wouldn't you? The Elite have been so important to the launch of AEW, with the Young Bucks going all in when I first approached them 2018 about my dream to create an international pro wrestling promotion. Shortly after that, their partners and closest friends, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, joined us. You could have slipped in a Cody in there, a little Cody in there, bro. See, I noticed these things, man. There's been several times Cody could have said TK, Tony, AEW, and he didn't. And there's been many times Tony has kind of exiled Cody from a conversation or a post that I felt Cody should have been in. This is just the latest. But I understand the focus is on the four. But I mean, to say Hangman Adam Page formed AEW is actually not true. He was one of the first ones there, no question. But he wasn't the EVPs. And that's what the other three are being extended. They're also extending the contracts, re-signing them as the EVPs. Tony Khan went on to say, now as we celebrate tonight's 200th episode of Dynamite, I'm excited to share that Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page will all be staying in AEW for years to come. We look forward to celebrating the great news with fans around the world. Omega says our original goal was to create a wrestling alternative and give a platform to talented people that we'd all felt deserved a spotlight. I feel like we did our best in that time, and hopefully some people you never heard of pre-AEW are folks you enjoy watching today, or if you knew them from their previous work elsewhere, have maybe found a new appreciation for them. That feeling, combined with the feeling of knowing they can provide for themselves and their families, doing what they love, was always the biggest reward of being an EVP founder. Pro wrestling has a presence almost everywhere on the planet. In my pursuit to become as complete of a performer as possible, my goal was always to be was always to experience the styles of the world at their highest level. I believe that with AEW's current working relationships and possible future, I think he means, I can challenge all forms of pro wrestling and diversify my style so that I'm equipped for any scenario I may encounter in the ring. I was careful to weigh out all options and was open-minded to all possibilities. I'm here to help whomever I can while I'm still around. Up to this point, I've made the choice to sacrifice everything in the name of pro wrestling. I can't say that family or my kids influenced the decision to stay with AEW. I'm not married and without kids. But what I can say is that I'm incredibly proud of my match catalog and the wonderful people I've met and continue to meet. AEW not only allows me to continue doing what I love at a high level, but allows the freedom to pursue some other passions I have in life, which, after nearly 25 years in the ring, have become more and more important to me. Exactly why I say is wrestling in the ring will be winding down. Already has started, if you've noticed over the past 2 years, with the injuries that have stacked up. As far as the Jacksons, they have responded to this contract re-signing. We're literally the E in AEW, they responded. The Elite are the main characters of this company. No matter how different AEW is now from its original inception, we are the DNA. And if you lose the foundation of your home, it eventually collapses. It'd be a lie if I said that didn't weigh on us when making our decision. If we're going to be honest, the schedule was a huge part of it. I have a wife and 3 young children, and seeing them as much as possible was a big factor. I'm not going to lie, the money was a huge factor too. At this point of my life and career, I just couldn't see myself being on the road half the year or even more than that. I have so much respect for the guys and girls that are able to do that year after year. We for sure could have made memories in WWE. But what's more important to me is making memories with my family. With the position we're in, I'll be able to do that and still make memories in AEW. In my older years of my career, being closer to the end than I am at the beginning, I'm not really one who worries much about my legacy anymore, says Matt Jackson. I've kind of noticed, like a summer tan, most memories fade, or they're remembered differently or told with errors along the way. Oftentimes, the memory is almost instantly forgotten because you hit the refresh button. As far as my own personal stories, I'll have enough to retell my grandchildren for a lifetime. And much of those stories can be about how I helped create a massively successful wrestling company where all of your favorites can be seen on live television every week. Ultimately, I made the best decision for my family. Working in AEW will allow me the most time with my children. They're still at the young age where they need their dad at home as much as possible. Having the strongest marriage possible with my wife Dana is so important to me as well. When wrestling is finished, I want to come home to a full, healthy home. The entire Elite was going to make the decision of where we were going together. Wow. So all 4 of them were about to go to WWE if they deemed such. If it was one, it was all. You could have saw Hangman, Omega, Bucks, and WWE, man. I'll reread that. The entire Elite was going to make the decision of where we were going together. And that's what we did. We stuck together, which isn't typical in the wrestling business. But again, I used the word family earlier. We're not just locker room pals. We're more like family. And we did what the family wanted. Gives you a lot of insight with the CM Punk situation, why they're so stern on not doing business with them or staying in the realm of, dude, what you did was totally out of line, and calling out the locker room and trying to go into business for yourself and this, that, and the other thing. Not cool. And to this day, they stayed with that viewpoint, and a lot of people stuck with the Elite. The goal for us is to continue to build the company and still be the true alternative, says Nick Jackson. We can't lose that identity. Short-term goals, the goal is to help make All In as successful and big as possible. I don't think any of us ever thought we'd be able to sell 70,000 tickets for one show, but here we are. It's mind-blowing, and we keep moving that goalpost further and further. This is what we helped create. It's made the wrestling business so much healthier. We take pride in the success AEW has achieved, and I think it's huge for AEW to keep the elite. It's a W for the company and for us. Our next goal in AEW, says Matt Jackson, is to piss more people off, make people happy, continue to think outside the box, tell unique stories, share a laugh with the guys in the locker room, make my parents proud, shine a light in an often dark place, and when it's over, to come home to my family in one piece. As far as Hangman Page says, I think it's very meaningful that as a day one guy, I stay with AEW. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's likely that I will one day finish my career here. Hopefully that can help the future generation see that there can be more than one path to success. Hangman Page goes on to say, at this stage of my life, the selling point was the schedule. AEW's schedule allows me to be home with my family more for the majority of the week and will ideally help my body hold up better in the long run, and the pay is really good. AEW emerging as a legitimate wrestling company has helped drive up the bargaining power for wrestlers and others who work in the industry. Making a long-term commitment to a still growing AEW, I felt was the best way I could help continue that progress. He goes on to say, pro wrestling has given me so much, starting with free hot dogs and now the ability to provide a secure future for myself and my family. I want to eventually leave it a better place than I found it for future generations. Love us, hate us, cheer us, boo us. Send us sweet comments or heckle us, Matt Jackson says. As long as you feel something and you continue to watch the very company we announced on the YouTube series all those years ago. If you were hoping this would be our grand exit, sorry to disappoint you. You're stuck with us. We're not going anywhere. Sounds like they're talking to their own AEW audience because as of late, it's kind of divided. Literally, like, Dynamite Collision is divided, right? You have the ones that stand firmly behind CM Punk, Phil Brooks, and those that stand firmly behind the Elite. And they generally just started not liking one another. So it's sad that AEW is kind of divided. It's almost like two separate companies without an actual brand split. Tony Khan, interestingly enough, was going to do a full brand split until he saw the backlash against it. And then he decided, all right, we're just going to have two separate rosters and we're not going to say anything. But they said, and again, they ended this whole thing. If you were hoping that this would be our grand exit, sorry to disappoint you. You're stuck with us. We're not going anywhere. Wow. That was my first time reading their comments, guys, so appreciate you allowing me to read those for the first time, doing it live on air for the recording of this Amped Up podcast. I did not read this whole Sports Illustrated article beforehand or their comments. So it's interesting to hear their reasoning. The schedule was top. Pay was secondary. Schedule. They know they could make good money in WWE as well, probably way more marketing-wise. But the schedule is what they're all saying. And they know they've banged their bodies up so badly in New Japan Pro Wrestling and elsewhere. They know that because of their style, their years, they're probably not going to go as long as a Hulk Hogan did. They're not going to go as long as a Roman Reigns would want to if he chose to. Roman doesn't come across as a guy who's going to do this another 10 years, but you never know. He's already got a part-time schedule. He could do this another 20 years if he's only wrestling 4 or 5 times a year and defending a championship once a year. Roman could do this another 20. But their styles allow them that. Kenny Omega, he's already talking about 25 years. What do you think he's going to do? Another 5 years of Kenny Omega Vikingo matches? Ain't going to happen. So schedule. The money was the icing on the cake. Man, wild. Also, guys, I want to, well, first of all, Collision. Why we were talking about AEW. Collision's rating this week, 739,000 viewers, 0.27 demo. That is up from last week's 618,000 viewership with a 0.18 demo. Very, very poor demo at a 0.18. 618, at least you're not 4 or 5. They could have easily already been consistently mingling with 500 flat. Literally. They only started with 800 some odd and immediately started to plunge. They could already be consistently at 5. So to see 6, it was like, whoa. And they were up against, you got the Red Sox, Yankees, I believe, was last Saturday. Something like that. There was a couple of things on. I don't use them as excuses, but Saturday night is a rough night. So, 600 still not a good number. All right, but they could have been much worse. And to see this week's number be at 739, so they gained, what is that, man? Let me do my Steiner math. 82, 92, 102, 112, roughly 121,000 viewers up from last week. 121,000 for a show that debuted only with 800 some odd. Now, no, is this back to where they debuted? No. But, man, and I'm not saying this is a good number, guys. I understand. But it is Saturday night. It is stiff competition. And to go back up toward the 800 and not consistently flatline at 5, that's a plus, man. That's huge. That's the good news. The bad news, and their demo was 0.27, up from last week's 0.18. So even their demo went up 0.09. That's massive. If you did that 3 or 4 more weeks, you'd be looking at over 1 mil. Do I see that on a Saturday night? Probably not. But you got to remember, CM Punk was supposed to be the savior of AEW, so that's why people were talking about such low numbers. Now, the bad news here, of course, is Saturday night. So much competition. Yes, you got the UFC, the prelims. You have the baseball, the big baseball games on Saturday night that will be on Fox 2. USA Women's, the World Cup. You got all of that and a lot more, but it's SummerSlam. Saturday night, not Sunday. Saturday night. This is the first big premium live event held on a Saturday night because I think the last Saturday one was like daytime, wasn't it? That was it Saudi Arabia? Must have been. But either way, that was their last set. So this is Saturday night. This is literally going to be on while Collision is on. This is going to be the big test. They could absolutely sink 200,000 to 300,000 viewers up front, right back to 500,000, if not lower. So if they can maintain 600,000 viewership next week, this Saturday going up against SummerSlam and so much more, it's not a victory per se, because I understand it's a low number, but a little bit of a pat on the back and just run like you just robbed the bank. Don't look back just in case it's a mistake. Take the 600 some odd going up against SummerSlam and fucking run. That's all I can tell you. Because this Saturday, going up against a beast like SummerSlam, Collision is in a whirl of shit. But this week to see 739, as a numbers guy, that's a trajectory we didn't see. The 618 was actually surprising. Our trajectory number showed them at about 578. That was a number that we kind of pinned in on, 578. So last week when they pulled 618, we still are not sure where the, 40 to 50,000 other viewers really came from. But good for them. And then to see over 120,000 this week, I was like, whoa, hold up. Do they have something here? And then all of a sudden, SummerSlam has to knock them for a loop. TK's like, damn it, we just started to get a little momentum. We'll see, man. So that's what I got. Listen, if I go any more stories, we're going to be here 3 hours. So, guys, I'm going to keep it at that. What I would like to do is go over to... hold on, guys. Let me try to get up on the big screen the super chat super thanks. Hold on. Now I got to find them. Hold on, guys. I'm not going to edit this. We're just going to try to find the big screen here if I can. Stick with me for a sec. Clutch City fan. I know, man. I got to get it up on the big screen. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to read it. Oh, first of all, WWE AEW Marvel fan. Hold on. Man, I lost the big screen here. All right, there it is. All right, I got it, guys. All right, so WWE AEW Marvel fan with a 2-spot super thanks coffee in yesterday's podcast, the Amped Up podcast featuring the Raw review, and WWE AEW Marvel fan who is a gold member, gold team channel member, throws a coffee over to BC. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez and Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus being off SummerSlam is a massive botch of every precaution. A 4-month feud shouldn't end on a random episode of Raw as the payoff, and having Rhea Ripley not defend her title at SummerSlam just makes her reign less interesting. Triple H is responsible for this, and it's a massive booking botch. Not much more I can say there other than to give you I'm going to smash that up on that, man. I just made that 8. How's that? There's no... Listen, I hear you. That to take away Trish and Becky and Rhea and Raquel, even though those are 2 matches that are not going to move the needle for a lot of people, I understand. But you can't take your World Women's Championship off the program when the other one is being defended with Asuka, Belair, and Charlotte. It makes everything... It muddies the waters. Like, this one is more important than... I never knew why Raquel was being catapulted in that spot anyway. But you can't just take it off now. And then you're taking off a months, with an S, long feud in Trish and Becky. Wild, man. Does that mean the Slim Jim Battle Royal took its place? I don't even know. But WWE, AEW, Marvel fan. That's Petty Paul Levesque McMahon for you, dude. I appreciate you. I appreciate the coffee and the membership, man. And Clutch City Fan, 2-spot coffee says that Trish cheap heat was gold. By the way, Astros versus Yankees this weekend. Let's go Stros. No! Cheaters! Clutch City Fan is talking about Trish's cheap heat, which called Houston's Astros cheaters and got her some of that fun heat, man. Trish Stratus, always good with that type of stuff. So I do agree with that. I would say let's go Yanks, but we're one of, if not the worst team right now in baseball. I don't care if the record tells you that. I am telling you, the Yankees are the worst team in the league right now. Just by watching them play all of these games, they suck. My Yankees completely suck. And I don't know, nobody knows if the switch is ever going to go back upright. We made no moves, or the most minuscule of moves at the trade deadline. With some stupid relief pitchers? With 4+ ERAs? Come on, stop. We made no moves. They said this is the team. Hopefully they could turn it around. Yeah, hopefully you'll win the lottery tonight when you play a scratch ticket too. There's a lot of hopes. Don't even get me started on the Yankees. Also, Clutch City Fan with a 10 spot. A couple of 2-treat coffees thrown to the channel. Clutch City Fan has been a tried and true on this channel for way before we had channel membership. That's only been around for 6-7 months-ish. So, Clutch City Fan, I appreciate you even before you earn that gold card. BC, thank you for your hard work, brother. This morning I get to work 6:30 a.m. This was yesterday, by the way. He says, work in a hotel here in Houston. As I am walking in the door, I see the most massive human being I have ever seen walking out the door. It was Brock Lesnar. I didn't walk up to him because I respect their privacy, but damn, son, this man is huge. Anyways, I'm looking forward to watching SummerSlam live with the unit if one of my coworkers switches her shift with me. I hope she does, because I hope to be live Saturday night doing the good, the bad, and the ugly review with my amplified unit. That's everybody. It'll be live for my entire unit. The chat may only be open to Gold Card channel members because we haven't been able to do a live chat Gold member only live stream in a while. And I like to do at least one a month, at the very least. So I hope to do that, Clutch City Fan. I'll be live this Saturday night, and I hope you're a part of it for sure. As far as seeing Brock Lesnar in the hotel, man, I'm glad to hear you said I didn't walk up to him because I respect their privacy. Thank you. On behalf of the wrestlers, thank you. You know, everybody just thinks it's they're obligated, or they're... What's the word I want? Everybody thinks that they're owed an autograph or a picture, or that they have the right just to run up to somebody because they're a celebrity or whatever. Man, these dudes are coming out of their home, probably haven't even had their morning coffee yet. They're probably busted up, bruised up from the night before. They're just trying to find out where they even go. Then they get all these people running up to them, tugging on them. Hey, Brock, it's me, Benson. Can I get a picture? Now you say, hey, well, that's, you want to be a celebrity. That's what you're going to get, man. But there's the right way to go about it and a rude way to go about it. Being in NYC, I can't tell you how many people, celebrities, wrestlers, you name it. You see it all. And I've always taken the approach of no approach. I have no reason to go up to these people. They're just human beings. They're just fucking people. It's cool to see them. Oh shit! Look at that. It's Johnny Depp. Yeah, I've seen Johnny Depp many times. Barbara Walters. Remember Barbara Walters? She was in front of me getting a latte one day in Starbucks. And I'm like, oh, Barbara Walters is in front of me. I'm not like, hey, you love you, Barbara Walters. You're a legend. No, let her get a coffee. Go on her way. Tell you guys this. I saw Tommaso Ciampa at Epcot, I told you guys, several months ago. Before he returned, it looked like I told you guys, he was in shape. He looks like he's ready to return at any moment. And he did, about a week or two later. And I told you guys, I saw him. He was with his family, his little baby girl and his wife, and they were going to all the countries in the World Showcase of Epcot, if you guys are familiar. And you get food. It's a whole little festival. And I didn't run up and go, oh, Tommaso, I cover your work, man. Big supporter. Hope to see you soon. How's the injury? No, I let him be. Have your time with your family. Have a good day, man. It was cool to see him. I told the people I was with, yeah, that's Tommaso. I cover his work. But yeah, he was just trying to have a day, and he's got enough people running up to him. So it's good to see and hear that, I didn't go up to him. I respect their privacy. He's having a day. He's probably trying to get out of the building. I respect that, man. But that must have been something to see a presence like Brock Lesnar coming out as you're showing up to work. Clutch City fan, I appreciate you, brother. Big time. That's going to do it for now, guys. Wow, this was another one of those longer podcasts. But what can I say, man? There was a lot to talk about. I'm probably missing some stuff, too, possibly. Who knows? Oh, yeah, I didn't even go over the record revenue for WWE. They had their conference call for the last quarter. Once again, and this is a trend, every single quarterly conference call, they talk about how the last 3 months, the last quarter, they brought in record revenue. We already know why, right? They're liquidating all assets, and they don't care how they get to that point. They don't care. They're going to liquidate the assets. And they know new TV rights deals are up, so they're going to bring all the main roster talent to NXT, and they're going to make sure that NXT is bolstered so that the ratings can go up and they can get a bigger TV rights deal. And then once they get that deal, they'll forget about it. They'll they'll boom up their pay-per-views, premium live events, just enough to get a massive deal after their latest Peacock deal ends. And then once that happens, the pay-per-views, the premium live events will be just secondary bootleg versions of Raw and SmackDown, right? Glorified Raws and SmackDowns. So they know when to do upticks, man. Liquidating assets. That's what they're doing. I always say merchandise is the least of their intake, right? Merchandise sales, they don't care. That's why they have buy one, get one free, or buy one, get one for $1 t-shirts. But then you have people like LA Knight selling you that many t-shirts. That'll actually move the needle a little bit. So maybe you will start to see an LA Knight push when they see the revenue sales that he brought in. Maybe we got something here. But congratulations to WWE. Record revenue. We're starting to see something too where a lot of people just want to get out of the house and go to live entertainment. Concerts. Monster trucks, Disney on Ice, they're all seeing this big revenue uptick. And they're like scratching their heads like, wow, we don't see how this happened, but we're glad something's happening where people just want to go out and they're spending money that they don't have, actually, because credit debt is at an all-time high, too, if it wasn't already. So that tells you that they're spending money they really don't have. So does that mean next year you ain't going to see all these ticket sales? Because they're spending it all now, man. All those credit cards are getting their use now. Anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. I wish I had more time. We can talk a lot more about the financial status of WWE. That's what I got for you, man. Go about your Wednesdays. Whoop that ass. a lot more content coming this week via the Amped Up podcast, and especially Saturday night for SummerSlam. Until next time, and there will be a next time. Top guy, I'm out. BC saying check you. Salute!